back. Can we... We got him. Okay, good. Now I can get those head stompers. And a golden gun. Golden gun is a good attack item because the more gold I have, the more damage I have. And right now I've got enough gold in this level to get the maximum golden gun damage. So killing will be pretty easy for a while. The item to watch down if you're watching the screen is if you look, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th item from the right. It's in between the barbed wire and the sticky bombs. That's the small enigmas. That's the item we need a lot of. The more of those we have, the stronger we will be when the gimmick of the run kicks in. And I see a lot of enemies dying over here. Let me just run over here and see if any of them are dropping items. It doesn't look like it. No, apparently not. So I want to talk a little bit about the controller that I'm using, right after we deal with His Majesty here. He dropped some dice. Those are not useful. Because usually, with the previous Risk of Rain runs I did, I played either with a, with a console controller. Either an Xbox One controller or a PS3 controller, both of which are excellent PC controllers, and I would recommend both in case you're in the market for a good PC controller. The Xbox One or the PS3 controller, both very good if you can get the adapters to work and whatnot. But I was very curious for a very long time when Valve first announced their Steam controller. They said it would work with every Steam game and it would have input options for all the different types of games on Steam. And I was very skeptical of that claim because a lot of the games on Steam, it's like those are like mouse and keyboard games. You know, like how are you going to play a mouse game with a controller? And then I saw pictures of it. If you've never seen a picture of a Steam controller, here's what it looks like. Boop. And it looks so alien. It doesn't have a D-pad. It doesn't have a right control stick. It's like, what can this controller even do? But I was very curious about it, but not curious enough to actually buy one for myself because they're very, very expensive. It's like a $60 controller. Like, there's a lot of technology that goes into it, and I was like, But I'm recording this Let's Play in January of 2017. Nope, scratch that. That's not true. It's actually February now, technically. It is literally 2 a.m. on February 1st, 2017. Point is, just a few months ago, or just like 1 month ago, it was Christmas. And I very generously received the Steam controller as a gift, as a Christmas gift. And I was very happy to get it, because now I get to play with it to see if it's a cool controller, without having to sink all the money in to buy one. There's my war banner, so now whenever I level up, it'll drop a little war banner in place, and I have buffs if I stay in the range of the war banner. But the biggest difference between the regular controllers you're used to, like an Xbox controller, and the Steam controller is there's no D-pad and there's no right control stick, and the face buttons are located lower on the controller. And this is all very, very weird. What it has in place, where the D-pad would typically be on a standard controller, is a large circular touchpad. And then on the other side of the controller, where the face buttons would typically be, is another large circular touchpad. I see you over there, small enigma. I want you in my belly. I want you in my belly, please. Mmm, tasty. Actually, I bet they're not tasty. I bet they're really, really terrible to eat. And then, where the right control stick typically is on a controller, that's where they've moved the face buttons too. We need to get out of there. That guy very, very easily one-shot us. Okay, we took care of it. We took care of it. I could stand still to get a little bit of healing from my bustling fungus, but I think standing still, unless I'm standing inside of a war banner, is probably a bad idea. Because stuff like this could happen. Hey, there we go. Those are two excellent items. So that Permafrost is a tier 3 item that might freeze enemies when we hit them. And the 56 leaf clover will make elite mobs drop items. And they will do this more often than they did. These are the guys I'm really scared of. These elites. These guys have ended a lot of runs. Not the elites, the greater wisps they're called. They're actually not elites, those are just the regular ones. But they can shoot you from very far away and do an insane amount of damage. And I'm still pretty squishy. I mean, the infusion's doing some work, but we've still got a ways to go before we're indestructible. For example, we don't have any mobility at all. We don't have any goat hooves for speed. We don't have any enhanced jumping. We got a couple of piggy banks. Actually, no, that's our first piggy bank. We only have the one of them. So the Steam controller, playing around with it, and what really blew me away the first time I played it, the first game that I played with it was Final Fantasy IX on Steam, the Steam version of Final Fantasy IX. And what really blew me away when I first plugged it in and was starting to kind of play around with it is the amount of customization options it has for a controller is astounding. Like, just absolutely silly. You can, kind of in a nutshell, you can configure any part of the controller to act as any other part of the controller, or as a mouse, or as any part of your keyboard. So the first thing that happened was joy to key is obsolete. I never have to mess around with joy to key anymore as long as I live. I can always just open up Steam and configure my controller to act as a keyboard, which is what I'm doing in Risk of Rain. Risk of Rain has legendarily bad controller support. The only way I can really get it to work with the controller is to set it up through joy to key and tell, hey, it's a keyboard, it's not a controller. So the Steam controller allows me to do that effortlessly. But the two touchpads, the two circular touchpads that are here, those are like the real features of the controller. That's where the controller really shines, because these two touchpads, you can set them up as a ton of different kinds of inputs devices. Like just D-pads alone. Let's walk through just the kind of D-pads it will emulate. For example, you can set it up as a strict 4-directional D-pad, up, right, down, left, and it doesn't recognize diagonals at all. You can set it up as a softer 4-directional D-pad, where if your finger is touching, or if your thumb rather is touching one of the directionals, it'll just default to whichever one you're closest to. You can set it up to an 8-directional D-pad where it has distinct diagonals. You can set it up as an 8-directional D-pad, like a hard directional D-pad, like one with gates on it, like joystick gates. So you have to be holding a direction, and you can't just hold kind of in between two directions. You can set it up as any of those things as a version of a D-pad where you have to depress the touchpad, because it actually has clickiness to it, if you want to have the tactile feedback to it. So just D-pads alone, there's like 6 different ways to set up a D-pad, and there's 2 different ways to interpret each of those methods of D-pad. And then in addition, you can set it up as a control stick. You can set it up as a trackball. You can set it up as a mouse. You can set it up as a standard touch screen. Like, you have a lot of options and you can do that with both of the touchpads. So after some experimenting, that's a blighted crab. Let's not fight that guy if we don't have to. Actually, no, he's gonna come over to us. Shoot him from over here. If he teleports to us, which he didn't. Okay. I was gonna say, if he teleports to us, we will blink away from him. Let's take care of this level here. So we can go over there and get... What was that over there? Was that nugs? That was nugs. We'll get some more nugs. Gotta get them. Nugs. So Final Fantasy IX has a lot of menu-based input. And so I set it up as a strict D-pad. Only recognizes 4 directions, so I can't accidentally tap the wrong direction if I'm using a diagonal. Gotta get some more nugs. And it took a lot of getting used to, because you have an option to push the touchpad in to make it register instead of just touching it. But that feels wrong to me. It doesn't feel like the tactile response from a standard D-pad that I was used to, because you click it once and then you can kind of rotate in any direction you want to go. I guess a better analog, if you've played around with a PSP at all, would be the PSP's like control sliver, I guess? I don't really know what it's called. It's not really a control stick. I'm not really sure what it's called. But that's closer to what this touchpad feels like if you have it set up as a D-pad that you have to click in. And I was like, okay, it already feels wrong. I might as well just see if I can get used to just using the touchpad. So I turned off the tactile feedback required, and I'm just touching it. And I got used to it. And I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. But now let's see how it plays a game that actually is going to require... ooh, this is the item we're looking for. the Nemesis nozzle. Because this is the only use item that will drop when we have the Enigma artifact turned on. I'll get back to the Steam controller in a minute. It is time to explain the conceit of this run. In 3 seconds here, we'll be able to fire off the boogers. Yeah, the boogers. Unfortunately, our cooldown on the boogers is like 12 seconds, but as long as we have this Enigma equipped, we can get more and more small Enigmas, and our booger cooldown will go down. And eventually, our booger cooldown will be amazingly low, and we will be Huntress, Grand Duchess of Boogerland. And we will turn Risk of Rain into a pick and flick adventure. So the second game I played with the Steam controller was Portal. I'm like, okay, I've seen how it works with like a standard RPG. I want to try it with an action game now, like a game that actually has, that's really going to put the controller through its paces. I want to try a game where I need to use both sides of the stick. I didn't mean to actually use my item there. I just wanted to swap it out. But hey, I got a free box, so let's take that. It's not a free box. I still have to pay for it. There's a small Enigma. Oh, and a blighted sand crab. I just saw him there. I mean, I saw his health bar up there. I didn't realize he was right on top of me, though. Oh, it's going to take another minute to get my use item back, because it was a spawn a treasure box item, so I used Enigma and not my nozzle. I do have to keep picking it up and dropping it, though, otherwise it will despawn. There's a small Enigma down there I can grab. Beautiful. We'll just leave those guys down there until it's next time to fire off some bugs. That was actually really dumb, jumping down to this ledge. That was really stupid, because if both of those greater wisps had fired at the same time and they had hit me, I probably would have died. Probably would have died, I must say. So I set up in Portal the right touchpad to work as a control stick, because that's how I'm used to aiming in Portal. And I hated it. I could not stand it. I can't even really describe why it felt wrong. It just felt really, really wrong and bad. So I went back into the configuration. I set it up as a mouse instead. And then it felt pretty good. That gave us a little bit of armor, that colossal neural we just picked up. A little bit of defense is nice to have. So why does the Wandering Vagrant drop a use item when no other use items will drop? It's because bosses have a chance to drop an item from their like particular boss pool. Like each boss has a special type of item that the only time you'll ever see that item is when you kill that boss, has a chance to drop it. And the artifact of Enigma does not override that in the game's code. And it just happens that that Wandering Vagrant is the one monster in the game, the one boss monster in the game that can drop a use item. Which means this is the only use item in the game you can get if you have Enigma turned on. Which means this is the only use item in the game you can, without using the command artifact, purposely build an entire character around using. Obviously, if you're using command, you can get whatever items you want as often as you want. And if you want to really get an easy breaking run going, command is the way to do it. What command does is instead of getting random items, you pick which items you want off of a list. So you can pretty much, you can pick like Infusion as your first item every time you play. But you pay for that freedom later on in a real breaking run. I just hit my use item again. Again, I didn't mean to. Oh well. You pay for that freedom later on though, because really late in a breaking run, when the items are coming fast and furious and they're basically dropping constantly, it means you've got to stop constantly and manually pick up every single box with an item in it and open up the menu and pick the item you want, which means you've got to actually think about what items you want. It's just a big pain in the butt. We got 11 Enigmas now. I'm not sure how many we're going to need, but I want to get that countdown really low. I don't want to be farming on this level for more than an hour. By the way, this might take about an hour of farming, of which we're only halfway done. Just so you know. I mean, maybe I should have put that warning up front. Because I'm sure a bunch of people are like, man, how long is it going to be on this one level? This is how, if you want to guarantee a breaking run, this is how it starts. You always start out farming up the powerful items you want. What item did he drop? Did he even drop an item? Yeah, over here. It's a small enigma. There it is. Let's keep that wisp away from us. He dropped some bustling fungus. A bunch of monsters are spawning over here. I wonder if there are just items laying on the ground from monsters over here that we've killed. Doesn't look like it. It looks like there's just a monster or two over there at any given time. I think we're going to kill this vagrant with our own bugs. Now we're going to kill him down here. He didn't drop. Oh, I think he did. There's a small enigma there. Beautiful. So we can see how our cooldown is doing now. "12 seconds we're at. We were at 14 when we started. That was terrible. I let that guy's missiles hit me. Let's be super careful here. I can't get back up onto that platform without going through that wisp. I can't even stand here and heal because he'll fire missiles at me. Okay, we should be alright now. Okay. We're half dead, that's fine. This greater wisp with the missiles is being a real pain in the bullocks. We showed him what for. We came out victorious, but you can see even with that infusion for that long, how scary it can get. Another magma worm, eh? I don't want to hit the magma worm with my bugs. I want those bugs to go down there and hit those guys down there, which they did. Nice. So they all blew up. Oh no! That magma worm went right through me. Looks like he died when he hit my charge field, though, and I didn't take a lot of damage from it. I did get the toxic centipedes, so now when enemies go into my hitbox, they will contract basically a sexually transmitted damage over time, is what that is. Alright, more head stompers. We're to the point now where I'm really, really scared that I don't have a lot of mobility. I really need some kind of jump or speed item. I mean, in all honesty, I need more than one. I need a lot of mobility. Like, we've got a lot of good items, but they're mostly like attack items, and what we really need to see is mobility. And I'm kind of hesitant to launch into another story or something because I really need to concentrate on staying alive here. Okay. You can see, too, that our damage is actually starting to fall off. It's taking a lot longer to kill monsters, because we're at difficulty ha now, which is the highest difficulty setting. I'm going to kill these guys over there. I don't think they dropped anything, though. You can see why I like this as a killing floor, though, because of all the different levels of verticality we have. A lot of monsters have difficulty attacking over or across gaps. So being in an area that has a lot of gaps can be very helpful. There's a goat hoof. Okay, so now we're a little bit faster. And enemies drop extra gold. The gold's not doing a lot for us because we don't have to spend gold to open boxes thanks to our sacrifice artifacts, but we do have the golden gun, which means the more gold we have, the more damage we do.
Shoutouts to Johnny LaRusick for sponsoring this video, and to everybody who helps make my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.